Skies above, ships of trade and battle, magic instruction, magical healing, the soul, and magical circuits. Alright, everybody. Alright. Good day. My name is Clefix Venvox. Today we will be going over the basis for magical healing. We will be discussing the soul's connection to the body and how it impacts magical healing and regeneration, the difference between magical regeneration and rejuvenation, and finally the difference between a body with and without strong magical circuits. So first off, as in many things magical, the soul. It is important to note that if we academics refer to the soul, we're not talking about the inherently holy breath of the storm that the priest of sky believe gives us an innate connection to the sky. We are instead referring to the practical, existing and governing force that determines how magical effects work on and with anyone's body. It is theorized that the soul keeps existing after the body has been destroyed and leaves the material plane after a short while, depending on the cause and circumstances of death. This is, however, still to be definitely proven. What we can prove, however, is that the soul stands in connection with the mind, one influencing the other. In a later note, we will re-inspect that trend when talking about soul scars. For now, let's just state that the personality and state of being of any individual are reflected by and on their soul. This can be observed whenever the soul is made manifest by a magical effect, like a magical personal crest tattoo, which will depict on the user what their soul looks like from the outside. Now to the actual purpose of this lecture, magical healing. When we speak about magical healing, we talk about all magical effects, divine or non-divine in origin, that restore the body via directly, partially, or solely magical means. So, magical regeneration and rejuvenation are different. Magical rejuvenation is a practice devised by the earth scientists in which the innate properties of plants and other healing substances are magically enhanced and enriched. Simply put, rejuvenation is natural, even non-magical healing, just sped up incredibly. Thus, it is less strenuous on the body, does not need a direct magical source, like, for example, a caster, has a reduced effect should the ingredients be poor or gone bad, and works only if the target is still at least partially alive. Magical regeneration, on the other hand, is purely and solely magical. It needs an energy source, be that divine, non-divine, external or internal, or even a mixture of some or all of these. Magical regeneration is capable of performing feats that would be considered impossible via magical rejuvenation. For example, given enough energy, magical regeneration could regrow a decapitated man's head within a certain time period after the head has been removed. A feat that magical rejuvenation is inherently incapable of. This has to do with the innate difference between the use of the soul. Again, to simplify, magical rejuvenation utilizes the body and the natural inherent ability of that body to perform magically enhanced restoration. Magical regeneration, on the other hand, reconstructs the body from the ground up, using the soul as a template. This essentially means that the soul is used as a blueprint for how the body of any given individual is supposed to be. A curious side effect of this difference that, in my opinion, helps explain this is the following. Wounds healed using magical regeneration do, in all but a few cases, not leave scars. Wounds healed with magical rejuvenation, on the other hand, leave sometimes debilitating scars. This leads us to a quick sidestep that I mentioned earlier, soul scars. Some injuries, even when healed via magical regeneration, leave scars upon the body. Some of you might have already figured out why, but I'm going to go briefly over it now anyway. As the name suggests, soul scars primarily occur when the soul is injured alongside the body. This happens whenever a person goes through a massive, oftentimes traumatic, but always soul-changing, violent event. This could be when standing the ground against an overwhelming enemy, or when being subjected to specifically soul-targeted torture. Soul scars are incredibly rare, and whenever you come upon an enemy or indeed an ally who bears them, keep in mind that these people were confronted with circumstances that would have killed or forever cripple most others. Now, back on topic. Magical circuits and the impact of varying strength of these circuits on the body. First off, you have to know that all of you have magical circuits. Every single one of you. Going even further, every living thing in the Edgelands, however simple or however complex, has them. An individual with strong magical circuits can use them to direct magical energy through their physical body, thus casting a spell. The stronger the spell, the stronger and more intricate the magical circuits have to be. The origin of the power, however, are not the circuits. Rather, it is the soul itself. This leaves multiple questions, some of which I will answer here, but most of which are either discussed in a later semester or we simply don't have any answers yet. Suffice it to say that the soul provides the raw magical power, while the circuits provide direction and shape of the power. There are exceptions to this rule, as with most rules. Should an individual have a divine patron, for example, the power does not flow from their own soul, but rather from their patron through their soul into their body and by extent the magical circuits, where it is shaped before finally being cast. Cast in this example means taking effect in the physical world, albeit not always the intended effect. Furthermore, where usually an individual is born with a certain strength of magical circuits and thus a magical aptitude, a divine or an unholy entity can enhance an individual's innate ability to cast magic. This change is not of the soul but of the body, new magical circuits being created where before there had been none. Interestingly, once above a certain threshold, any individual is capable of strengthening their own circuits. By what means this is possible is simple yet annoyingly complicated to perform. It is through training one's abilities. Hard training through battle seems to work best, but it has long since proven that studying and practicing can be just as effective, if done correctly. The threshold I spoke of earlier is passed once an individual is capable of channeling the soul's power through their magical circuits. This essentially means that no matter how strong your magical abilities from birth, with enough and more importantly the right training, any spellcaster can be just as, if not more, powerful. I realize how many questions must be on everyone's mind by this point. Unfortunately, we do not have the time and you do not have the required knowledge to explain and understand everything that I have only briefly touched on during this lecture. Also, there is a multitude of topics I haven't even mentioned that are integral to understanding the workings of magical circuits, the soul, and magical healing. One of these topics is aura and aura control, which I could talk about for another hour, and we still wouldn't have covered nearly enough to start delving deeper into magical suppression, which is, in and of itself, definitely worth mentioning when talking about magical circuits and the soul. But, as I just said, we are sadly all out of time for now. So that's it for today. Goodbye.